How to Win Friends and Influence People is a great book. When I ask people for my new selling job about what book should I read, or is there any resources I should read to be a better salesman, they always say How to Win Friends and Influence People. And rightfully so, they have some really good stuff in there. But a big problem is just that it could be misused. Let me explain. So, there's a principle in there that talks about how you should memorize people's names. And yeah, it does make them feel welcome when you learn someone's name. And it's always a bad look when you constantly have to say, hey, what's your name again? But sometimes it could be obvious when someone's just trying to please you by memorizing your name, by being things like, oh, yeah, have a nice day, Gabriel. Or, oh, yeah, how are you doing today, Gabriel? Like it's obvious when they're just trying to insert it at the end of a sentence to show you that they know your name. Next, another example of that is, and a worse one, is that one of the principles they talk about in the book is to actually like genuinely listen to people. Or no, that's not that's what you're supposed to do. But the principle was just know that people care more about themselves than they do about any other thing. So that's why you should ask about people first before just talking about whatever you want to talk about. And even people who haven't read this book, it's something that they try to do. But I know that I could tell that sometimes when I talk to people, they're just waiting for me to get out whatever I have to say, and they have like whatever they're about to say on the tip of their tongue. Like I'll be saying something, and midway through they'll be like, "Yeah," and like they'll like it'll just be obvious when they thought of something to say midway through my sentence, and at a certain point they're just waiting to get out whatever they want to get out. So, yeah, the principles in how to win friends and influence people are great, but just be mindful of this. When you ask someone about their day, like genuinely listen, don't just ask to be polite. Same thing with the smiling thing. They also say to smile and how to win friends and influence people, but it's obvious when someone doesn't feel like smiling and they're like, "Yes, well, we can do this." You know, just something to be mindful of because yeah, people are smart. They could tell when you're not being genuine. It's actually one of the things that I live in America now. I'm originally from England, but they say that American people aren't always the most genuine. At least people from other countries. Like if you go to Russia, people aren't constantly smiling or asking how your day was, even though they don't really care. And I'd assume it's the same thing in Germany, which I'll be there in a couple months now. So make sure you're just always genuine when using the principles you learned from How to Win Friends and Influence People.